Being woke is like a magic moral time machine where you judge everybody against what you imagine you would have done in 1066, and you always win. Presentism. Yeah, this professor is right. It's just a way to congratulate yourself about being better than George Washington because you he didn't.
Bill Maher does not do woke. Never has. Never will. So when a celebrity whose entire brand is built on that politics walked into his world, everybody already knew how this was going to end. A takedown. Clean. Brutal. No apology. And that's exactly what happened. But real quick, if you're into sharp commentary with zero filter and full breakdowns, hit subscribe right now. Takes 2 seconds, because what's coming next? You don't want to miss a single word.
What would get him reelected, which was stupid wokeness, which is what got him reelected. So I feel my conscience is very clear that I told you and I told you and I told you, and I lost fans for it. You know, lots of the super woke that like I'm not woke enough for them. Yeah, but like I think I had it right. Like that kind of stuff is what lost the election to the Democrats. It's in all.
Maybe part of it. I don't know. I think a lot.
They have polling on it.
Well, I think it's inflation. I think Americans hate inflation.
That certainly was
They hate
part
inflation.
of it.
They hate riots, and they hate.
They
and they hate trans people.
Oh God, John, we're not.
Dude.
So here's Cryer's big theory on why his party got destroyed. Regular people are just secretly hateful. That's it. That's the whole explanation. Millions of Americans voted, and his first instinct wasn't to ask a single honest question about his own side. It was to point at the voters and call them bigots. Let that sink in. Not what did we do wrong, not why did we lose them. Just the entire country is deplorable and we're the good guys. That's not analysis. That's contempt wearing a blazer. And Maher, he didn't even flinch. Because he came with real numbers, real data, actual receipts. Cryer came with hurt feelings. The difference was visible in real time. One man studied the loss and asked hard questions. The other would rather burn the whole country down than look in a mirror for 5 seconds. And when the bigot card stops working, watch what happens next. He pivots. Groceries, inflation, anything. Any exit that doesn't lead back to his own message. For a lot of people watching, that was the moment the mask slipped, because that pivot isn't a mistake. That's the whole operating system. Deflect. Blame, protect the seat, and the second this guy runs out of facts, he stops defending the idea. He starts defending himself.
The ending concluding remarks after I told them that the Democratic Party had turned into a Portlandia sketch.
Again, I felt like they tacked to the right quite a bit in this.
Again,
they tacked right on immigration.
You're a Hollywood in the bubble, blue sky.
Dude,
I know this town.
You're a man of the people, Bill. Is that it?
Much more.
Oh, really? And
you're part of the Hollywood community that is embraced. I am not.
Now pay attention here, because this is where it gets really good. Cryer is the working actor, fully embedded inside the Hollywood machine, collecting the checks, playing the game, living inside the bubble. And Maher, the man who actually walked away from the groupthink, is sitting right across from him. Yet somehow, Cryer thinks he's the one who understands regular people. The audacity. Critics want to say Maher was just scoring cheap points. But that's not what that was. That was a man getting handed a mirror and flinching. You don't get to call yourself the voice of the people from inside the exact bubble that lost the people. That's not a platform. That's a punchline. But here's the trick you need to learn to spot, because this movement runs on it. When they can't beat the argument, they don't engage it. They go after your address, your tax bracket, your zip code, your neighborhood. Anything is except the actual thing you said. Critics call that rough debate. It's not debate. It's a smoke screen, a distraction, a escape hatch for people who know they're losing. And Maher, he walked straight through it like it wasn't even there.
That's not. I don't live there. It's not my culture.
And you won't judge it.
I'm not going to judge it. No. But again, this is not
that's crazy woke to me.
Okay.
That's where it all went off the rails. When we became so tolerant that we tolerate intolerance. I mean, you would never allow something like that to happen in this country. If they proposed a law tomorrow at the LA City Council, women have to cover their face when they go out. I assume you'd be against that.
Well, yes.
And this is where Maher went surgical. Cryer plays his noblest card. The crown jewel of the whole act. I don't judge other cultures. Sounds beautiful, right? Sounds evolved, generous, enlightened. So Maher did something simple. He handed him something monstrous, a law that strips women of their faces in public, legally, forcibly, and asked him to apply that same energy. The whole pose collapsed in real time because of course he judged that. Of course he would. Every single person with a conscience would. And that is exactly Maher's point. A tolerance so total, so performative, that it ends up protecting the intolerable is not virtue. That is surrender. Gift wrapped to look like grace. Now sit with this for a second, because this is the part that matters. They tell you they don't judge, right up until you hand them the one thing they cannot stomach. Then the judgment comes roaring back instantly, which means it was never real. They were ranking right and wrong the entire time. They just hid the scorecard and called the hiding open-mindedness. Critics say that's unfair to honest liberals. But here's the problem. The honest liberals aren't the ones steering this thing anymore.
It is appropriate, I think.
Okay.
Okay, I think this is the standard liberal position. And then there's like the people who won't admit that some of this is social contagion. Some of this is just a TikTok trend that got out of hand.
I don't agree.
And that's okay.
Watch what Maher does here. Because his whole side refuses to do this. He states the calm, normal position, then names the part nobody on that side is allowed to touch anymore. That some of this, the trends, the movements, the messaging, spread like contagion. Got loose, went too far. Crier won't agree, and Maher just lets him disagree. No insult, no label, no cancellation attempt. Just, okay, we see it differently. Moving on. Don't skip past that moment, because the man who came into that interview representing tolerance had to be shown what tolerance actually looks like by the guy he showed up to scold. That one beat tells you everything about who the real liberal in that room was. But now let me tell you about the engine running underneath all of it. Once you see this, you cannot unsee it. The modern left took every cause and turned it into a costume. And every costume became proof of how good they are. Not what they do, not what they build, not what they sacrifice, just what they wear, what they post, what they perform. And the performance became the whole point.
People in this town, they just want to be warriors, social justice warriors. So they're just always looking for a cause. And it's so much more often about them than the cause itself. Not that they're not sincere about stuff, but like what bugs Dave Chappelle so much about the trans thing, I think it's the fact that they want to make it the social justice issue of their generation. And it just doesn't compare.
And this is the line that draws blood. Maher's charge is simple, ruthless, and impossible to argue with. These people don't actually want to solve anything. They want to Webber the problem. Stay warriors forever. Keep hunting the next banner, the next march, the next cause to put on their profile. Because here's the ugly truth at the center of all of it. It was never really about the cause. It was always about them. The suffering, that's just the backdrop. The stage. The set design, the applause, that's the prize. Critics say that's too cynical, too harsh, so do this. Look around. Count how many of these self-proclaimed crusaders have actually fixed a single thing, versus how many just showed up, performed, posted, and moved on to the next one. Go ahead. Count. That's just not conviction. That's a personality built out of other people's pain. And that is the credibility crisis this movement refuses to admit it's having, because the more it sinks, the louder it screams, and the louder it screams, the more people quietly walk away.
Politics, of course, you have to assume that the other side is going to use your vulnerable points. But here's what the left demonizes. They would take my conversation with you right now, which is in no way illiberal, and say I'm some sort of bigot. Because in the left's view, the far left anyway, any just questioning of this is a mic drop. Oh, you're a bigot. I mean, it happened on CNN recently. Like, I will not sit here and hear someone called a boy, and they're talking about someone who's trans, but, it's like, we're so pure. We know everything. That's the given. So any discussion of this is bigotry to begin with. And that's not where we are with this issue.
Listen closely, because Maher just exposed the entire playbook in one move. The far left has exactly one response when cornered. Question them, calmly, fairly, not a single drop of hate in your voice. Ask one honest question they can't answer, and instantly, you're a bigot. Conversation over, case closed. Next, he didn't theorize about it. He pointed at it happening live, on CNN, in real time. For everyone to see, critics say he's exaggerating. He's not describing a theory, he's describing a tactic. One that millions of people have watched land over and over and over again. That is the machine. And that machine is exactly why no honest conversation survives anymore. Now critics want to say Maher is just bitter, just old, just some guy yelling at clouds. But here's the inconvenient little fact that keeps stubbing their toe. He keeps turning out right. Every single alarm he pulled, they laughed at him, called him names, declared him irrelevant, and every single time, the bill came due, paid in full.
We dehumanized them. It was politics.
Well, another
whatever.
reason why the Democrats shouldn't have blown it.
Well, again,
So,
you can blame them all you want. I
do.
believe again that there was a worldwide reaction to the inflation bump after COVID. Everybody, as I said, Americans hate inflation.
You keep telling
They hate
yourself that,
riots.
and you'll lose the next one soon.
And right on cue, Cryer does the exact thing that buried his side live, one more time. Handed a clean opening to face the truth, he reaches back. Inflation, the economy, the wide world, any culprit, any exit, anything but the man sitting in that chair. And Maher closes the door with one single line. Keep telling yourself that, and you'll lose the next one too. That's the entire night compressed into one sentence. One man learned the lesson the hard way and did the work. The other just volunteered to learn it all over again. Critics want to call that smug. Say Maher was just flexing. It wasn't smug. It was a warning. A real one. Delivered clean. No ego attached, but the pride sitting in that chair? That's exactly why it'll never land. Now let me be crystal clear about where all of this actually comes from. Every excuse. Every dodge. Every I don't judge. Every bigot label fired at anyone who asks a question. They all grow from the same root, one thing. One crack in the foundation. That this movement absolutely refuses to face.
The problem with communism and with some very recent ideologies here at home is that they think you can change reality by screaming at it, that you can bend human nature by holding your breath. But that's the difference between reality and your mommy.
Here's the cold truth nobody on that side wants to hear. You cannot scream reality into submission. You cannot hold your breath until human nature changes its mind. That gap between accepting the real world and throwing a tantrum in the cereal aisle, that is the exact same gap between a party that wins elections and a party standing in the rubble asking what hit it. Critics say that's too simple. Sometimes the answer is simple. Because it's just true. We watched a man walk into that interview certain, confident, ready to school Bill Maher, and stagger out stripped completely bare. Cryer came to defend the cause, and became the single best argument against it. He swapped facts for excuses. Swung at the messenger when the message was beating him. Swore he didn't judge, then judged the second it was convenient. Couldn't call a trend even when it was sitting right in front of him. And every single time, Maher cracked a door open for one honest moment. Cryer slammed it shut and grabbed the script. Critics want to call it a friendly disagreement between two guys on the same team. It wasn't friendly, and they are not on the same side anymore. One of them did the work, faced the loss, asked the hard questions. The other is still living in the fantasy that already lost once, and is lining up to lose again. So tell me, why can this crowd never just admit they were wrong? Is Bill Maher the last honest liberal left standing? And when your entire movement runs on calling people bigots, what's left when nobody flinches at the word anymore? Drop your thoughts below, and if this breakdown hit different, like and share the video.